Hi everyone. I just want to spend a few minutes to look at how you navigate and use the textbook. There is another video that's available in the announcements about navigating the course of study, but I simply want to take a few minutes in this one to discuss how to move through the textbook, how to look at each chapter, maybe some study tips for each chapter, and some tools for each of the online textbook that you can use. So right here we have the course of study, the home page. Yours may not look exactly like this. This is one from, I think, a previous year. If you're in Nursing 210, it's the same textbook that you use. Like I said, you may look slightly different, but it's still the same process. So this is your home page. If we scroll down, if we click on weekly assignments, we can see each week. Let's just click into week 2 here. You can see down here where it says textbook or go to book. So your textbook is the most important thing you can engage in while you're in this course. Pretty much all the information you'll need will come from the textbook. So use the textbook, okay? That's your main focus of study every week, the textbook. Okay, so you have these other quizzes that you can do. All of those quizzes are about testing your knowledge that you've learned from the textbook. The quizzes are not a tool to learn the knowledge. They're a tool to test your information about the knowledge. They can help you focus a little bit, but that should be used really after you're going through the textbook. So let's just start. We'll also go to book here. It'll take you to directly to the page that it's linked to. But also if you click over here where it says table of contents, this little icon up here, you can see all the table of contents. The book's divided up into various units. If you click on each unit, then it opens up to various chapters. So unit 1 has chapters 1 through 5. So let's look at chapter 1 here. Right? If we click on the chapter, then it breaks it down into each section. So there are 9 sections in this chapter. As you're reading through the textbook, my suggestion really is you tackle it section by section. You sit down for an hour and you say, I'm going to read through sections 1.1, 1.2, 1.3, and 1.4 in the next hour. And then later today, I'll read 2 other sections or something like that. As you are going through each section, what you really want to do is look for the main concepts in each section. So it's not like sitting down and reading a novel. What you want to do is look at each section and ask yourself, what's the most important, what are the 2 or 3 most important concepts I want to get out of this section? So you may look at it briefly and read through it and say, oh, the concept of what is pharmacology? Where did pharmacology come from? Maybe that's what you get out of this first section. If we go to section 1.2, you'll see that pharmacology is bolded here. Typically, if you see a word that's bolded in this section, that's a strong concept that tells you I really should probably know about this. If we go into section 1.3, pharmacology and therapeutics, the title right there should tell you that what you really want to pull out of this 2 paragraphs that you read here is what's the difference between pharmacology and therapeutics? What does each one mean? If we move into section 1.4 here, we see several words that are highlighted. We also see several words that have bullets up top. So that should really tell us then, I want to know what's the difference between a drug or a medication. What is a biologic? What's a complementary and alternative therapy? Right. If we scroll down, click down this button down here, that just takes us to the next page. This page is section 1.5. The big concepts that we probably want to pull out of this is what's the difference between a therapeutic and a pharmacologic classification. So when you finish this, you should be able to tell yourself, you should be able to turn to your neighbor or family member and say, hey, the difference between a therapeutic classification and a pharmacological classification is this. So when you're learning something, I think a really good way to learn it is to look at each section and say, if I wanted to teach someone about this, what are the 3 or 4 things or 1 or 2 things that I'm going to pull out of this and tell someone? What's the most important thing I think they should know? When you start doing that and thinking about it that way, you're going to discover and know for yourself what's the most important things you're going to do. Mechanism of action. Again, look for things that are highlighted. Also, look for, those special little boxes that you always see in textbooks. Those are usually good clues about what you want to really pay attention to, right? So let's skip down to section 1.7 here. And it says prescription and over-the-counter drugs. So, when you have a small section like this, the main thing you really want to say is, it's the difference between these two things. When, we know the difference, like we know what a prescription drug is, we know what an over-counter the drug is, but look for that's your starting point. So you want to really look for information of why would someone get a prescription drug? How are they different? How are they the same? So you look for the big, bold concept, and then you kind of theoretically or metaphorically begin to list items underneath them. What's the side information about each of those things? Okay. Again, if we look at this section, what is this section? 1.8. Generic equivalents. What is a generic equivalent? What's a trade name drug? Look for those things. If we scroll down, we see bioavailability. That should tell us this is something important. They have a diagram about it. So when you read this, you really should be able to speak to what does bioavailability mean? What's the relevance of it when it comes to medication, right? So remember, this is a pharmacology course, so every concept that you're studying about, you should think about that in terms of how does this relate to how medicine is used? How could the bioavailability, how is it going to affect the drugs that someone takes? What does that concept mean in terms of medication? So look for those things as you move for each of those things, okay? The other thing that I want to make sure that you guys know what's available in this textbook is the search function here. So if you come over here and click with this little magnifying glass, it gives you the opportunity to search for a specific word. So for instance, if I wanted to search for the word therapeutic, I'm just going to cut and paste that in there. You can't see it. There we go. Put it in there. I'm going to hit the enter button on my keyboard. It's going to show me every time that word is used in the textbook. Okay, and I can just click on it here. You can see often you'll see them in chapter title headings, but if we scroll down, it's on page 2 here. It's on page 3. That's right there. Click on page 4. Here we get it again on page 4. If you're really looking for something specifically, you might want to look for where it's, look over here, look for perhaps where it's capitalized, therapeutic. Let's say I'm looking for the word histamine. I'm trying to figure out what a histamine is. I'm going to type that in there. I'm going to make sure I spell it correctly. I'm going to click on the enter button. It's going to show me every time that word is used in the textbook over here. But I really want to learn a little bit about a histamine. So I'm going to click on a couple ones here. So I'm probably not going to learn about it here. That's just a reference here. When I look at this, where is it? Here, there. This talks about histamine release in opioids. So maybe that's not going to tell me much of an overview. I'm going to scroll down. If I look on page 501 right here, I can see that histamine is capitalized. I'm going to click on that. And here, it's going to take me to a section where this whole section is about histamines. So, yeah, use this. Like I said, it'll show you every time that word is used in the textbook. But use it critically. Come over here and look for specific look for the best place in the book that maybe you can learn about it. Okay. The other thing that you may want to use this search function for a lot is, let's say you're doing some of those practice quizzes. You're doing the Apply Check Your Understanding quiz or the Remember Check Your Understanding quiz, and you have a question about what a loading dose is. So you're going to perhaps type in the word loading. You don't really know what that means. You've done the reading, but you can't remember it. So come back here and do this. And then, oh, here we go right here, loading doses and maintenance doses. So this is a whole area here on what a loading dose is and a maintenance dose is. So it should give you a nice way to sort of search for specific information to help you understand a concept. Okay? Hope this helped a little. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. And that's it. Y'all take care. Bye-bye.